Princess Leonor's university move could break a royal tradition. Here's why. Introduction. The decision that could signal a change for generations. Royal education has followed a familiar pattern. The future monarch studies carefully selected subjects, builds relationships with important institutions, learns about government, history, diplomacy, and public service, and, when the time comes, moves into the next stage of preparation for the crown. But Princess Leonor's educational journey has already been anything but ordinary. She has studied outside Spain. She has experienced an international academic environment. She has completed extensive military training. And now, as she approaches the next major stage of her education, attention is turning toward one important question: where will Spain's future queen continue her university studies? The answer could be more significant than it first appears, because Leonor's education is not simply about earning a degree. Every decision surrounding her preparation is connected to the future role she may one day inherit. And if she chooses a path that differs from previous generations of Spanish royals, it could signal something much bigger: a monarchy preparing its future queen for a changing world. Today, we're looking at Princess Leonor's university journey, the royal traditions surrounding education, and why her next academic decision could become an important chapter in her preparation for the throne. Chapter 1: Why Leonor's education is different for most young people. Choosing a university is a deeply personal decision. They consider their interests, their career ambitions, the location, the people they will meet, and the kind of life they want to build. For Princess Leonor, the situation is considerably more complicated. She isn't simply preparing for a profession, she is preparing for a constitutional role. As heir to the Spanish throne, she could eventually become Spain's head of state. That means her education has a national dimension. What she studies can help shape her understanding of economics, politics, international relations, law, history, culture, and society. Her education therefore becomes part of her preparation for public service. And that is one reason her university plans attract so much attention. Chapter 2: The international path. Leonor's education has already crossed national borders. She attended UWC Atlantic College in Wales, where she studied in an international environment alongside students from different countries and backgrounds. That experience was significant. A future monarch needs to understand the world beyond her own country. Spain is deeply connected to Europe. It maintains diplomatic relationships around the world. It participates in international institutions, and the Spanish crown regularly receives foreign leaders and represents the country abroad. And international education can therefore provide valuable perspective. But Leonor's university decision raises an even bigger question. Will she continue building that international experience? Or will she choose to pursue the next stage of her education primarily in Spain? Either option could serve a different purpose. Chapter 3: The tradition behind royal education. Royal education has always carried symbolic importance. Future monarchs have traditionally been expected to understand the institutions they will eventually represent. That means studying more than textbooks. It means understanding government, constitutional responsibilities, military institutions, diplomacy, national history, and the relationship between the crown and the public. King Felipe VI himself followed a highly structured educational and military path. His preparation included university studies, military education, and extensive international experience. Leonor has followed some of those traditions, but she is also living in a very different era. The world she will inherit will not be identical to the world her father entered, and that difference may influence how she prepares. Chapter 4: Is Leonor really breaking a royal tradition? This is where we need to separate speculation from reality. There is no simple royal rule stating that Princess Leonor must attend one particular university or follow exactly the same educational path as previous Spanish monarchs. Royal families have traditions, but traditions are not always laws, and traditions can evolve. So if Leonor chooses a university or academic route that differs from previous generations, it would not necessarily mean she is breaking a constitutional rule. Instead, it could represent an adaptation, and that distinction is extremely important. The Spanish monarchy operates under constitutional rules. Leonor's future role is defined by Spain's constitution. Her university choice, however, is largely part of her personal and educational preparation. That gives her considerably more flexibility than the dramatic headlines might suggest. Chapter 5: Why Spain is watching. Even with that flexibility, public interest remains enormous. Why? Because Leonor's life is increasingly connected to Spain's future. Every milestone attracts attention. Her military training attracted attention. Her first major speeches attracted attention. Her international engagements attracted attention. And naturally, her university plans are no different. People want to know what kind of queen she will eventually become. Will she be strongly international? Will she focus on Spanish institutions? Will she combine both? The truth is that her university choice alone cannot answer those questions, but it can become one piece of the much larger picture. Chapter 6: The Bigger Change. A modern future queen. Perhaps the most interesting thing about Leonor's education is not whether she follows or breaks a tradition. It is how she combines tradition with modernity. She is receiving military training while growing up in a digital world. She is preparing for a centuries-old institution while facing 21st-century expectations. She represents a monarchy that must preserve continuity while remaining relevant to younger generations. That balance could become one of the defining challenges of her future reign, and her education is part of that preparation. Chapter 7: What her university years could mean. 1300 hours to 1415. University could become one of the most important periods of Leonor's development. It could give her greater intellectual independence. It could expose her to new perspectives. It could allow her to build friendships outside the royal environment. And it could give her an opportunity to understand the experiences of people her own age. For someone preparing to become monarch, that exposure could be invaluable. The future Queen of Spain will eventually have to represent millions of people with very different lives and opinions. Understanding those differences begins long before the crown is placed on her head. Conclusion: a new chapter for Leonor. So, could Princess Leonor's university move break a royal tradition? Possibly, in the sense that she may choose a path that looks different from previous generations. But it is important not to confuse a change in tradition with a violation of constitutional rules. Leonor has room to build her own educational journey. And that may be precisely what makes her generation of royalty so interesting. She is inheriting a centuries-old institution, but she is preparing to lead it in a completely different century. Her university decision will not determine what kind of queen she becomes. Her character, judgment, education, experience, and commitment to public service will matter far more. But whatever path she chooses, one thing is certain: the world will be watching. Because Princess Leonor's university years won't simply be about where she studies. They will be another step in the making of Spain's future queen. And perhaps that is the real story behind her education. Not a royal tradition being destroyed, but a royal tradition evolving. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more videos about Princess Leonor, the Spanish royal family, and Europe's future monarchs. And tell us in the comments, where do you think Princess Leonor should pursue her university education, Spain or abroad, and why?